You've seen this one. Your feed, your group chat. Maybe your coworker sent it with 3 crying laughing emojis. A Florida man, kidnapped by dolphins, forced to help build an underwater city. The dolphin's name was Gerald. And according to the internet, you weren't supposed to question him. Here's the thing. Almost nobody who shared this story actually believed it. And that's exactly why they shared it. Welcome to the strangest viral phenomenon of 2026, a hoax that spread because everyone was in on the joke. In March 2026, a story appeared on Facebook and TikTok. A man found wandering on a Lee County, Florida beach, missing for 3 days. His explanation? Dolphins took him. Not just any dolphins. A pod led by one particularly ambitious cetacean named Gerald. And Gerald, apparently, had plans. Big plans. Architectural plans. According to the viral posts, this man emerged from the ocean and immediately began drawing in the sand, intricate designs for a town square and residential sections, for dolphins. The headline wrote itself, Florida man kidnapped by dolphins to build underwater city, and within hours, it was everywhere. But this story wasn't spreading like normal misinformation. To understand Gerald, you need to understand Florida man. It started as a Twitter trend over a decade ago. Search Florida man plus your birthday. See what comes up. And something always came up. Florida man wrestles alligator in Wendy's parking lot. Florida man arrested for throwing sausages at his mother. Florida man rides manatee, flees police. These weren't jokes. They were real headlines, real arrests. Florida's open records laws meant journalists could access police reports that other states kept private. The absurdity was documented. Over a decade, this created something powerful, a cultural expectation. If a story sounds absolutely insane and it's from Florida, well, it's probably true. That's the template Gerald exploited perfectly. The story was absurd enough to be obviously fake, but it fit the Florida man genre so precisely that sharing it felt like participation. Not participation in spreading misinformation. Participation in a joke. And the punchline was that everyone got it. Here's what we actually know. The viral story claimed a man was found on a Lee County, Florida beach after being missing for 3 days. His captors? A dolphin-led construction crew. The Lee County Sheriff's Office confirmed none of it happened. No incident. No missing person report, no beach rescue, no dolphins involved in any architectural projects whatsoever. But here's where it gets interesting. The debunking barely mattered. People weren't sharing this because they thought it was real. They were sharing it because they knew it wasn't. The phrase, "Don't question Gerald," became the calling card. If you were in on the joke, you typed those words. It was a handshake, a membership badge to the absurdist club. News Anyway analyzed the spread pattern and found something remarkable. Quote, "It was shared and reshared by individuals who instantly realized it was ridiculous and wanted to be a part of the event." This isn't how traditional misinformation works. Usually, false stories spread because people believe them. Here, the falseness was the feature, not the bug. The Gerald tale felt, quote, "immediately realistic despite being immediately implausible because of the cultural framework supplied by the Florida man genre." That framework did heavy lifting. A decade of genuine Florida absurdity created the perfect camouflage. The genre trained us to suspend disbelief for anything with a 386 area code. The story went viral faster than typical real news. Why? Because ironic sharing has zero friction. You don't need to verify a joke, you just need to get it. But here's the problem. The algorithm doesn't know you're joking. The platform counts every share the same. Ironic engagement and sincere engagement look identical in the metrics. So when TikTok's algorithm saw Gerald content getting massive engagement, it did what algorithms do. It pushed it to more people. People who weren't necessarily in on the joke. Research on fake news psychology shows something troubling. Once we've encountered a claim multiple times, we start to feel it's more credible, even if we first saw it as a joke. Psychologists call this the illusory truth effect. Repetition creates familiarity. Familiarity feels like truth. Your brain can't always feels like truth. Your brain can't always distinguish between "I've heard this before" and "this is accurate." This creates a pipeline. Joke enters the system. Algorithm amplifies it. Someone encounters it without context. They share it sincerely. Now it's misinformation, regardless of how it started. The Gerald phenomenon connects to something researchers have been tracking: AI slop. That's the term for low-quality, often AI-generated content flooding social platforms. AI slop relies on engagement farming, heartwarming stories, outrage bait, feel-good animal content, all optimized for clicks and shares, truth optional. Gerald fits this ecosystem perfectly. Similar fake viral stories have included heroic rescue dogs that never existed and heartwarming moments entirely fabricated by AI image generators. Gerald was human-made, but the playbook was the same. So here's where we need to ask a harder question. Is ironic sharing actually different from sincere misinformation? Does intent matter when the outcome is the same? Some argue, yes. There's a real difference between knowing you're sharing fiction and genuinely believing a lie. Satire has always existed. The Onion doesn't count as misinformation. But others counter with this: the distinction between in on the joke and actually fooled isn't visible to anyone else, not to algorithms, not to the next viewer, not to grandma scrolling Facebook. When you share something ironically, you're not sharing your intent along with it. The post just says, "Florida man kidnapped by dolphins." Your wink emoji doesn't survive the repost. The timeline matters here. The Florida man genre emerged in the early 2010s. That's over 15 years of conditioning. Gerald didn't appear in a vacuum. It exploited accumulated cultural memory. By March 2026, we've been trained, not by propagandists, not by foreign influence campaigns, by ourselves, sharing increasingly absurd but genuine stories until the line between real and satirical disappeared. And that's Gerald's real lesson. The hoax didn't exploit our gullibility. It exploited our media literacy. We thought we were too smart to fall for fake news. Gerald showed we'd share it anyway, for fun. So what do you do with this? First, it may help to recognize that not all viral content spreads because people believe it. Some spreads because people believe it. Some spreads because people want to participate in a collective moment. That participation isn't neutral. Every share teaches an algorithm. Every engagement trains the machine on what content to amplify next. Your ironic click counts the same as a sincere one. Consider this. Cultural templates like Florida Man can prime us to accept absurd claims from certain sources. When a story perfectly fits an existing narrative, that's exactly when skepticism matters most. Before sharing something that seems too perfect, you might want to ask yourself why you're sharing it. Is it because you think it's true, or because you want credit for being in on something? The Gerald phenomenon suggests a new media hygiene practice. If a story triggers your desire to participate rather than inform, that's a signal. That emotional pull is exactly what makes ironic content spread. And here's something practical. When you see regional stereotypes explaining unusual claims, Florida man, Australian wildlife, Russian dashcam, it may help to verify anyway. Templates aren't evidence. Notice when you're sharing something for social credit rather than because you think it's true or useful. That awareness alone can change the calculation. Gerald spread because participation felt costless. The Lee County Sheriff's Office, by the way, handled this perfectly. 4 words in response to journalist inquiries: "We have no idea where this came from." That's it. That's the whole investigation. But that response barely penetrated. The debunking couldn't keep up with the joke. By the time facts arrived, Gerald had already achieved what facts never could: cultural significance. This is the new misinformation landscape. It's not just about believing false things. It's about a content ecosystem where truth becomes optional, where the story's entertainment value outweighs its accuracy. Gerald wasn't a failure of fact-checking. It was a success of entertainment. The dolphin architect became a character we collectively authored. And that collaborative fiction was more appealing than any correction. Researchers studying fake news psychology found that emotional engagement dramatically increases sharing behavior. Gerald triggered amusement, superiority, and belonging, a potent cocktail for virality. Amusement because the story was funny. Superiority because you got the joke others might miss. Belonging because Don't Question Gerald marked you as part of the in-group. All 3 at once. Irresistible. If you're finding this kind of breakdown useful, subscribing means you'll catch our next investigation. We cover stories like Gerald every week: the weird, the viral, and the surprisingly true. Here's the real irony. Gerald the Dolphin Architect probably did more to teach media literacy than 100 serious fact-checking articles, because Gerald made us confront something uncomfortable. We don't just spread misinformation because we're fooled. Sometimes we spread it because it's fun, because participation feels good, because being in on the joke matters more than being accurate. That's a harder problem to solve than simple gullibility. You can't fact-check your way out of a culture that values entertainment over accuracy. The solution requires examining why we share what we share. So next time you encounter something that perfectly fits a cultural template, something that seems designed for ironic sharing, one approach is to pause, ask what you're really contributing by passing it on. Gerald the Dolphin Architect doesn't exist. He never did. But the phenomenon he represents, ironic virality, participatory hoaxing, entertainment as misinformation, that's very real, and it's not going away. The Gerald Dolphin kidnapping taught us something important about 2026. We've moved past the era where misinformation succeeds by fooling us. Now it succeeds by entertaining us. The question isn't just, is this true anymore? It's, why do I want to share this? If the answer is to be part of something, well, maybe that's the whole point, and maybe that's the problem. Don't question Gerald, but maybe question why you wanted to share him in the first place. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next investigation.